Some of the best known things to come out of Canada include maple syrup, ice hockey, but for us it's just hockey, and saying sorry. But unfortunately we can't forget about some of the lesser known evils born in our country as well. So let's get into it. Starting off our list today with Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka. If you're from Canada, you probably know about this one, but this video is to educate our American friends. Name a worse duo. I'll wait. Paul Bernardo, aka the Scarborough Violator, and his wife Karla Homolka were involved in the violation of at least 14 women and the killing of 3 in Scarborough between the years 1990 and 1992. Nicknamed Ken and Barbie, Homolka was seen as Paul's assistant or partner in crime, if you will, as she often watched her husband violate their victims and sometimes even videotaped the events as well. Another thing that's absolutely insane is that one of these pair's victims was actually Karla Homolka's younger sister, Tammy Homolka. The pair used illicit substances to subdue Tammy, and unfortunately, while in her sedated state, she choked and died. When the pair were finally caught, Karla did a complete 180 and turned on Paul, testifying against him in exchange for a shortened sentence. She spent 12 years in prison for 2 counts of man 1, while Paul, on the other hand, got life with a minimum of 25 years starting in 1995. He actually did have a parole hearing earlier this year, but luckily and obviously it was denied. Karla, on the other hand, is free and living in Quebec. Oh, and she's actually married to her former lawyer's brother as well. Next up, we've got Robert Pickton, another popularly unpopular name here in Canada, but like Bernardo, believe it or not, I as a Canadian did not know about him until earlier this year. Might have something to do with the fact that I didn't grow up in Canada, but still. Anyways, Robert Pickton is straight up gross like everyone else on this list, but hear me out. This guy violated and killed at least 26 women. I say at least because that's all the courts were able to prove, but he claims the number is actually 49, which he complained about after his arrest because he was so close to an even 50. Actually, what he really said is that he was angry, furious, and disappointed that he never got his big 5-0. By the way, this guy is eligible for parole in 2026, but I doubt he'll get it because besides the fact that he violated and killed a confirmed 26 women, after they died, he fed their bodies through a wood chipper and then fed it to his pigs, which I guess is why they call him the pig farmer. May he rot in hell. Next up, we've got Russell Johnson, aka the bedroom killer. Well, he was actually called the bedroom, something that rhymes with Wrangler, but I don't think YouTube will let me say that, so here we are. Yet another violator slash killer living in the Great White North, which despite this video I promise isn't actually a bad place to be. Over the span of 4 years, Russell Johnson killed at least 8 women and violated at least 18. How? Well, I mean, the name kind of gives it away, but it's weirder than that. This guy also could have been known as the Lizard Man Killer because he was known to scale the outside walls of buildings to reach his victims, sometimes climbing many stories high to access the opened bedroom windows of unsuspecting women. Think you're safe because you're not living on the bottom floor? Think again, I guess. When he entered into the victims' homes, he would watch them sleep for a while before joining them in their beds, forcing their compliance in adult activity, and then forcibly restricting their airways. Luckily, he got caught. Unluckily, he was found not guilty by reason of insanity, but thankfully, he was sentenced to life in a mental institution, so at least that's something. Next up, we have Clifford Olson Jr., a killer con artist who between the years of 1980 and 1981 took the lives of at least 11 individuals. Prior to the killings, Olson had been serving a sentence for crimes committed as a con artist, but he was released after working as an informant, providing officials with information about his cellmate, Gary Francis Marcoux. Ironically, Olson later attributed his future crimes and his interest in forcibly taking and killing people, some of which he violated, to the conversations he had had with Marcoux. Olson was rash and unorganized. After his release, he went into a frenzy, killing all 11 of his victims in the span of less than 1 year. His methods ranged from restricting airways to large blades to beatings. He was eventually arrested after trying to force 2 female hitchhikers into his car, and he was sentenced to life in 1981 and later died behind bars in 2011 at the age of 71. Once again, might I say, rotten hell. Next up, we've got Elizabeth Wettlaufer, an incredibly disturbed former nurse who either in a twisted way really loved or just really hated old people. Throughout her time working in elder care, she caused the deaths of 8 senior citizens and attempted to kill 6 others in Ontario between the years of 2007 and 2016. She was caught only after checking herself into a rehabilitation program at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, also known as CAMH. While seeking treatment, she resigned as a nurse and confessed her crimes to members of the hospital staff, who then reported her to the Ontario Nurses College, who then notified police. During a taped 2-hour-long confession, Wettlaufer confessed to killing and attempting to kill patients under her care by injecting them with lethal or near-lethal doses of insulin. She also said that after injecting her patients, a voice inside of her would laugh, but she wasn't sure if she was being guided to kill by the devil or guided to spare the elderly from a slow death by God. She also passed a lot of gas while in the interrogation room, which is irrelevant, but I feel like worth mentioning. She was sentenced to 8 concurrent life terms in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years, and thankfully remains behind bars to this day. Next up, Michael Wayne McGray. On May 1st of 1985, McGray killed his first victim, a hitchhiker, in Nova Scotia. Then in 1987, he impaled and killed his alleged accomplice in the first crime. I'm telling you guys, no honor amongst thieves, or killers in this case. In the years that followed, while in and out of prison for various other crimes, McGray went on to kill a confirmed 5 more individuals. However, he claims to have ended the lives of at least 4 others, but that was never proven. In 2000, McGray was sentenced to 20 years in prison for the death of both Kimberly Ann, who he killed in St. John, New Brunswick in 1999, and Joan Nix, who died at McGray's hands in Moncton in 1998. As I said, he was sentenced to 20 years, but during that time he killed a fellow inmate, Jeremy Phillips, causing his sentence to increase to life. Wayne Clifford Boden is next on our list today, also known as the Vampire Violator. Between the years of 1969 and 1971, the deranged lunatic took the lives of 4 women, 3 in Montreal and 1 in Calgary. So why was he called the Vampire Violator? Well, he had a bit of a calling card. At the scene of each one of Boden's crimes, very distinct bite marks had been left on the intimate chest areas of his victims' bodies. While biting someone so hard it leaves behind a fully trackable orthodontic footprint is absolutely horrendous, it ended up being exactly what police needed to track the guy down. Wayne Boden became the first killer in North America to be convicted based on forensic dental evidence. For his crimes, Boden was given 4 life sentences to be carried out in the Kingston Penitentiary in Kingston, Ontario. His sentence started on February 16th of 1972 and ended on May 27th of March 2006 when he died in the Kingston General Hospital of skin cancer. Next up, we've got Peter Woodcock, who after his arrest actually changed his name in prison to David Michael Krueger. This guy was not just incredibly sadistic and disturbed, but also literally crazy. In Toronto in 1956, Peter set out on his bicycle surrounded by an imaginary army of 500 other invisible boys on bikes who he believed to be real. While cycling around the exhibition place, he met a young man. Peter then lured the young man to a secluded area of the grounds and restricted his airways until he died. After that, Peter went on to kill 2 other people, one in a way so horrific it could rival the acts of the devil. Seriously? This guy. Sorry. It's true. Luckily, he was arrested before continuing his streak, but he was ultimately found not guilty by reason of insanity. He was, however, diagnosed as a psychopath and sent to a maximum security mental health center. During his time at the center, he was treated with various methods, including LSD therapy. Also, during his time there, for some reason, he was given a day pass, which he used to kill a former inmate because, as he claimed, the alien gang known as the Brotherhood wanted him to. He wasn't given any more day passes after that, and he eventually died in the facility at the age of 71. Next up, we've got Russell Williams, a former colonel in the Canadian military who in 2010 was charged with 2 counts of killing in the first degree, 2 counts of forcible confinement, 2 counts of breaking and entering, multiple counts of forcing women to do adult activity with him, and 82 other counts related to breaking and entering. I mean, this guy was given a rap sheet to rival all other rap sheets. For you Americans, it was probably longer than a CVS receipt, whatever that is. I've heard about it before. Anyways, Russell Williams was incredibly disturbed, obviously. Not only did he violate and kill women, he also often stole their lingerie. When he was caught, he was given 2 life sentences, which he is currently serving in a maximum security prison located in Port Cartier, Quebec. Speculation that Russell's wife was aware of his behaviors circulated around the courts in 2014, but she maintains that she was completely oblivious to his crimes until his arrest in 2010. And finally, we have Leopold Dion, who in 1963 violated 21 young men and killed 4. Nicknamed the Monster of Pont Rouge, after his first act of violation, he attempted to kill a woman with his brother. The 2 violated her on the railroad tracks of a village in Quebec before impaling her with a large blade and leaving her to die. She survived, but maintained serious physical and psychological injuries from the ordeal. After that, Leopold worked alone. He posed as a photographer to lure in young men, meeting them in public and snapping a few photos on a camera with no film before telling them that he wanted a change of scenery and driving them to abandoned areas to be killed. After Dion was caught, it took him an entire month to confess to his crimes, during which time he led officers to the spot in which he had buried his victims' bodies. Surprisingly though, he was only charged with 1 killing, but it really didn't matter, I suppose, as he was still given the ultimate sentence: death. However, the sentence was later commuted to life in prison. However, on November 17th, he was impaled to death by a fellow inmate who was not charged in the killing of Dion due to reason of insanity. Wild ride. Okay, you guys, some pretty dark stuff going on up north, but I promise you, Canada is not all psycho killers and whack jobs. If I missed any, let me know down below. I've been your host, Hannah Thompson, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.